It has been 1 month since we heard the big news that Ripple was applying to the OCC to become a national bank. They also filed for a FedMaster account, which we told them was very important because it lets ROUSD reserves be held directly with the Fed. This adds a huge amount of security to ROUSD, making it safe for the future. It's been a month and there hasn't been any big news about this, but I will say this. This post from Wrath of Kahneman is something we just got, and this is really about that application for the Ripple National Trust Bank. And we have this, the application for an OCC banking license from Ripple is now open. Volume 1 is what everyone can get. The application gives us some ideas about what Ripple wants to do, and the organization is also something to think about. Now let's start with the first part. First, and this may seem like a no-brainer, Ripple is asking to become a limited-purpose OCC-regulated national trust bank. It would make it possible to store ROUSD reserves and run a regulated system for tokenized finance and future access to the Fed. Here is a full explanation of how Ripple Labs Inc., which is a sponsor working through the named leaders, plans to set up Ripple National Trust Bank, which is the trust bank. And when we look into this, it's clear that yes, it does open up very many things. It's not just based on ROUSD. It's also based on security, tokenization, and even getting to the Fed. Attention is needed on this very important matter because if it is accepted, which I think it will be a huge boost for Ripple. On top of that, we have this. So it won't be a store. The CRA says it doesn't apply to national banks that don't lend money or take deposits and whose bids are only for fiduciary services, no deposits or loans, just B2B banking and infrastructure. This is probably pretty clear. In other words, this isn't about shopping and it's not geared towards shopping. Ripple is only interested in one thing. Organizations, it's very clear when they talk about the XRP system too. We've talked about this a lot of times in movies where we were mostly talking about how institutions can use DeFi on the XRP ledger. From what we've seen over the years to where we are now, one thing has stayed the same. Ripple needs to work with the big banks and other major players. This has always been like this. And this is the main reason why XRP has always been known as the banker's coin. This is because Ripple has always been tied to institutions. It was never about shopping. It's clear that this trust bank was made for RLUSD now. Not a single word about XRP here. What I think, Ripple should keep XRP separate from the bank's legal application so that an OCC supervised trust bank and a token are not confused at this point. Still, there is nothing stopping future XRP integrations, which I think will happen, especially when we think about RLUSD use cases, DeFi use cases, business DeFi use cases, and so on. Also, this is interesting because it means Ripple Labs owns the bank and gave their leaders their own private stock. And it's also interesting that it's secret. A friend said that this is normal for companies that want to go public, and yes, this is the full breakdown of how we think Ripple's stock could really come true. Explain all of the institutions and holding companies' stock benefit plans, such as stock options, stock warrants, and other stock-based pay plans for top executives, organizers, directors, and other insiders. We know that Ripple wants a national bank charter so that it can set up a banking compliance subsidiary to control tokenization. They don't want a license to send money or insurance for deposits. If the Fed could get to them, they would turn into real liquid infrastructure. This is very important. And yes, if we think about it, I would say that Ripple wants to be seen as a real and very serious establishment player. They've always wanted to be the leader in institutional structures. It's the main reason Monica Long, David Schwartz, and Brad Garthinghouse have told us they want this umbrella that does everything. They want to be able to store their coins safely, get paid, and use DeFi. They got everything they wanted under one roof. This license would be the last big piece that would complete the picture and make Ripple the most important player in this new world of finance for institutions. They would make it possible for institutions to do just about anything, from institutional DeFi to institutional control and more. On top of that, the board is stacked, as you can see. In a way, we've already talked to the board before. But this is a very big change that's important for both Ripple and XRP. Future XRP features will be interesting to see, but XRP isn't really the main selling point here. That honor is more for ROUSD. I do think that they will happen. Also, let's go back to July 9th, because that's when Brad Garthinghouse confirmed why this is a big deal, especially when it comes to the rules. This is something that I believe needs to be talked about right now more than ever. And that's because, well, look at what happened with the SEC recently. Everyone in the US just gave crypto a big thumbs up. This is better for Ripple and even XRP than almost anything else in this area. Now, obviously, a lot of those utility-based projects and companies based in the US also get that big benefit. Hedera, Algorand, and Stellar are just a few examples. But pay close attention to what what Brad Garthinghouse says here. Even though you have this deal with BNY, you still need and want a banking license. The short answer is yes. We followed through on an application to get both an OCC license and a FedMaster account. Cryptocurrency and the type of decentralized finance that many people call it are important to us. Ripple has been making links between traditional finance and decentralized finance. Like, crypto won't take over the world. Instead, we think about how to bring the best parts of crypto to standard finance, like making transactions faster and cheaper. That's what Ripple has always been all about. That's what this is meant to do. Getting an OCC license is also important. For those who say the crypto world doesn't want to be controlled, the opposite is true. I'm here in Washington, D.C. because, as you said, there's a hearing today for the Senate Banking Committee. We are calling for our business to be regulated. And people who, like Ripple, have come forward and said, we want to get an OCC license in addition to the licenses we already have with the New York Department of Financial Services. It only strengthens that very strong, very compliance-first trusted partner, so we can keep using these technologies to help both companies and consumers. Once more, what does Brad Garlinghouse talk about in this video? What is the most important thing? Did it make sense? Those establishment players, the ones who use a lot of money, are locked in on taxi. But also, now that we think about it, there are some very important governmental changes happening in this area.